All right, let's get started. Welcome. My name is Ryan Lowe, and I am building an Alexa skill live. And I've been working on it for the last few weeks, and I'll be working on it for a while yet. I'm a member of the Alexa team. I'm a technical evangelist. My role is to educate and inspire other developers to build with Amazon Alexa, particularly in skills that run on like Amazon Echo devices, for example, like I have behind me. And so part of my job is to stay current on all the skills, technologies, and what we can do with it, and come up with creative use cases that maybe will inspire others to go build stuff better than what I'm building. So I am building a skill. So part of my job is to just be building a skill. So I live stream it to see if anyone else is interested in what I'm doing. So I am building specifically a skill that will help out with our developer office hours. So every Tuesday, my co-host and I, Jeff Blagenberg, get online and we stream to a variety of different platforms, and we try to answer developer questions regarding Amazon Alexa. And we stream to, like I said, like 5 different platforms. When we're done streaming, we archive those videos into YouTube, where we have now like hundreds of these videos. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually writing a service that will pull down those videos and index and transcribe them and create a searchable database out of them. The problem being, if you are a developer and you have a question and it's not Tuesday morning, you can't join us live, there's not a whole lot you can really do other than Google searching, because we do have all these hours of videos, but because they're not indexed, it's really difficult to find what episode you need to watch and what point in time. So that's what I've been working on, is this skill here. I do want to say my internet has been quite choppy as of the last couple of weeks, unfortunately. I live in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. I use Starlink internet. It's been really spotty, so my live streams have been really laggy, so I apologize for anyone trying to follow live, and if you are experiencing that, my apologies. I am putting these videos in YouTube when I'm done. I'm recording them on my machine and uploading them to YouTube, so I do have a better quality version of this in YouTube. So back to my skill though. I am working on the backend services first, but I'm really excited because today I'm actually going to create the shell of the Alexa skill. We'll go into the Alexa developer console and start working there. This will be the first time in I think like a month and a half that we'll actually start looking at Alexa, which is, I'm excited because that's actually what I'm here to do. But I had to build an entire backend system to be able to process videos, so we actually had something interesting for the skill to connect to. So jumping over to my GitHub repo, I'm checking this in almost every time I'm done working on it after every stream. You can find this in my GitHub page. There's a link off of my Twitch account. This is one of the starred repositories, so hopefully or a pinned repository, so hopefully you can find it easily. I'm working on an architecture diagram. So I created a proof of concept of this last year. I have not sat down and thought end to end, how am I going to build this entire infrastructure? So my architecture diagram reflects that. It is very messy, but it's being built out as we go. I will come back once I feel confident that the infrastructure looks good and clean all this up. And also I need to add more documentation. Maybe I'll do that before Monday. This is just the standard documentation that you get when you create a SAM repository using the SAM CLI. I should come in here and start documenting more what I'm doing, and particularly the state machines that I'm using. So I have most of this backend infrastructure done. So what do I have? I have a subscription service to PubSub Hubbub, which is the way that Google notifies me when there's a new YouTube video. I will actually get, I'm managing a subscription, so I create a subscription there. It lasts about 5 days, and then I have a step machine that'll go and refresh that subscription every 5 days. And then I will get incoming videos in real time. So Tuesday night, usually, we'll get an incoming video. And then I have a state machine that will go persist that video into Amazon S3, and then it'll do a bunch of different processing to it. First is it'll do media convert to convert it over to a format that then Amazon Transcribe can use, which will pull out all the text, and then Amazon Comprehend will look at that text and pull out entities and key phrases, and then we store all that in Amazon OpenSearch. Everything here except for Amazon OpenSearch so far is serverless. I just can't, I just don't have another alternative to Amazon OpenSearch and how expressive it is at creating full text searching. And so we had to create a server. So that's the only expense that's running full time. The rest of these are all only when we invoke it. And so I have it set up so that every Tuesday we will start processing those video files. And then last time on Wednesday, I built a state machine to go and pull down the whole entire video archive and process them one by one. And it's been running ever since Wednesday. So if I go over to my AWS account, we can kind of show this. So I have, this is the state machine I built on Wednesday. It's first getting all the videos from my YouTube channel. And you can see here the response to that is there's like 600 of these videos. That we found 504 videos or so. And it's just processing them one by one. So it's going through, and what it's doing is it's executing one by one my other state machine that actually goes and processes the videos. And that one takes about half hour, 45 minutes to run. And so this is just slowly churning through that huge array of videos and processing them one by one. It's going to take maybe a week to process, and that's totally fine because this is like a one-time dump of the full index, full library. From here on out, I'll get all new ones automatically and start indexing them. So you can see here I've processed 115 videos. It's processing the 116th or 117th because it's zero-based index. But it's slowly chunking through this, and it's going to be maybe another week before it's done, which is really cool. The other reason why I'm doing it one by one is I don't want to stress out the other state machine and the other services. So some of the services like Amazon Media Convert and Transcribe, they do have limitations on how many requests you can do in parallel. For instance, I can't just call Amazon Media Convert and say, here's 504 videos, process them all at once. I will get throttled from the service most likely. And so this way I'm just doing it one by one, and I'm just being super careful about it. And it seems that looking through the logs, so some of these you can go over here, and now you can see this is a state machine that's actually processing them all. You can see here there's been 179 executions. Most of them have been successful, but there have been a few failures. If I go into one of these failures for one of the videos, they all seem to be from so here you can see it's processing just one of the videos from the archive. And the exception seems to be a 410 coming from YouTube. So YouTube is throttling me as well. So it's another reason why to go just one by one, take my time, go through the whole library and process it. So this has been running. And if I go into my S3 bucket, you can see here I have now 100 and some videos that you can see, and this is really, really cool. It's pulling down these videos, saving them as MP4s, and then I can stream directly from here, and it is transcribing and processing all of these. So it's not pulling down more than just the Alexa office hours that we have. It's also pulling down all the other videos, including Alexa and Friends that my colleague Jeff Blankenberg runs. So we'll have indexed all those. And a bunch of Alexa Live content, which is our yearly long big conference. So anyway, this has been running. It's been awesome. It's been fun to watch it. And then I've been running queries against it. So here I'm using, you saw my diagram that the database I'm using is Amazon OpenSearch, which it's based upon, it's a branch of Elasticsearch is my understanding, just an open source version of it. And it is fantastic. So I've been pulling out, if I can let me just do one quick search and I can show you what one record looks like. So as I save these in here, I didn't want to do episodes, I want to do paragraphs. I'm indexing the entire transcript of each video. So it's this giant blob here. I thought that'd be useful to have. And then I'm also, I use Amazon Comprehend to break the transcript into different paragraphs. And so here, if I do just an empty search on the paragraphs, you can see what this looks like. A lot of the videos have an intro to them. Like we do at the beginning of office hours, we have a 5-minute intro. It's just music, but Transcribe seems to be picking it up as So I need to probably come through and pattern match on something like this and delete a bunch of records. But if we get to one that actually has some text into it here, So this is from Alexa Developer Office Hours, February 8th. This is one paragraph of text. And you can see here that this is a paragraph of text. And then what I'm doing is I'm using Amazon Comprehend to pull out tags. I should have named this something different. These are actually entities that it found. So Brian Tarbox was someone that was mentioned in this paragraph of text, joined our office hours. And then these are the key phrases that were pulled out of it. So I have like 12 days, I have My Edition, I have ISP, which is in-skill purchasing. And so I've been studying up on Elasticsearch query syntax. I've been trying to figure out like what's the best way to query this. I'm going to be spending a lot of time understanding the best way to query this data. It is rich data, has the full text. But what I've been doing for right now is just doing like simple queries. So here is a simple query that I just made up. Like, how do I get started with multi-value slots? And if I run this query, I will get a bunch of results back. And here's the first result. It says Trey says, and it actually, instead of reading it, what I can do is I can just actually show the YouTube video. So let me capture this URL. Let's open up a new window. And the cool thing is I have the time that this starts at. So this paragraph of text starts at 2600 seconds into it. So if I do this, it'll start playing exactly that point in time. And you're not getting the audio. But it goes exactly to that question on multi-value slots. This is so freaking cool. So my end result is I'm going to build an Alexa skill that will show this video. If you have a video device like behind me, it'll actually show this video on the device and zoom to that point in time with media controls to say, zoom to the next search result, and so on. So let me close that down. So I've been having fun with this. I need to figure out things I need to figure out over the next couple of weeks is like, how do I fine tune these results? One of my ideas that I have is actually take the question string that comes from, so again, I'm creating an Alexa skill where I can say, show me from office hours and say like, how do I get started with multi-value slots? That's a terrible example. So I could say like, hey, how do I get started with multi-value slots? Or show me from office hours where we talk about how to get started with multi-value slots. So anyway, I can take that search string and I can just put it directly in here and get a result. And that's what these results are. But I've also been playing around with like, what if I take this text here and I run this in my Alexa code? What if I run this through Amazon Comprehend as well? So this is the CLI where I'm saying Amazon Comprehend, detect key phrases. So I run this natural language query that users give me, and it didn't actually find me. That's great. That was a terrible example. Let's see. I had like, how do I generate a pre-signed URL? That's a bad example too. I had really good examples here. Like, how do I use an S3 bucket to host images? And so key phrases in that string were an S3 bucket. So anyway, I'm not sure if that'll work. As you can see, it's like kind of spotty whether it can detect actual key phrases. There is another. What if I did entities? How do multi-value slots work? So let me do detect entities and see if this gives me a better result. Nope, didn't find any entities in there. But these are things I'm going to be playing with. Is like, what if I could query just those tags that I was showing, and that's kind of what this is doing. It's saying, look for do a query string here, but also do a key phrases match as well. So lots of stuff to kind of play around with as I'm going with this. The nice thing is I'm starting to get like a good number of results I can look through, so I can actually determine if these queries are working or not. And I think this will tell me. I'm not too familiar with this whole dashboard, but I believe if I go to index management and indexes, it'll tell me, yeah, my paragraphs, I'm starting to get, I have 109,000 paragraphs now that I can start searching through, and 103 total documents. So you can see I'm starting to collect a bunch of data that now I can start testing different queries out. But all that, like, we'll let the videos keep processing as we go. But I want to get to two important things today. The first one is I want to create a CloudFront endpoint where I can play the videos from. So what I want to do is I found a way where I can stream the videos directly from YouTube to my Alexa device. And it works, although I'm fairly 99% confident that that breaks all kinds of terms of service, and I probably shouldn't do that. So I'll probably show that, but I also want to set up the correct way, which would be to set up a CloudFront URL. So I have all these videos in S3. I can set up a CloudFront front end to cache those videos, and we can stream the videos out of CloudFront to the Alexa device. And that's the best way to do it, but that's also not free. So the YouTube streaming directly from YouTube would be free, but I have a feeling that is kind of frowned upon. So I don't want to do anything that would violate terms of service. I will double check into that. So going to my local machine, this is my repo on my local machine. I'm using VS Code for a lot of this. And I'm using the SAM CLI to build out my entire infrastructure. And SAM CLI sits on top of CloudFormation. So I have a mixture of SAM and CloudFormation resource definitions in this giant YAML file. And it is getting rather large. I'm over 1,000 lines of resource definitions to build out this entire infrastructure. But this also means anyone can download my repo, deploy it into their AWS environment, and have everything that I've built set up ready to go, and they can start processing their own YouTube videos. But one of the things I haven't done before is I haven't in CloudFormation set up a CloudFront instance in front of an S3 bucket. And so we need to do that, but I need to actually like research how to do this. And again, I'm using SAM, which sits on top of CloudFront. And SAM's nice because it allows you to be a little bit more concise when creating a resource. And as an example of this, like here's a lambda function, and it's a serverless function, not a CloudFormation function. And there's a bunch of helper stuff that's happening. So SAM will go and transform this whole, it'll like build my Lambda functions using this code URI, which is just a folder over here. And then it'll transform this into strict CloudFormation. And it'll actually break this up into two different resources, a Lambda function and then an IAM role that the Lambda function will use. So this is a really, really concise and nice way of working with CloudFormation. Just think of SAM as like helper functions on top. And let me just check in on Starlink to see what's happening. I'm getting, man, like I don't know if you can see this or not, but the green at the bottom is my upload speed, and it's just all over the place, very inconsistent. I'd really like them to work on that and improve it, which they will. It's in beta. I just am in the middle of nowhere, so that's all I have. So bear with me as my stream is laggy, but again, I'm uploading all these videos to YouTube, so you'll have a nice recording there. And maybe I should pull them down and index them. Okay, so we need to build the CloudFront instance. What is it? I can't remember what it's called, but let's start working on that. So what I'm going to start with is SAM. And my trick is to get to the SAM documentation of resources. If you just paste in like one of these, it'll go straight to the SAM documentation. So here's a SAM documentation. What I'm looking for is a CloudFront way of setting up inside of SAM instead of going to CloudFormation. And there's not. So there's APIs, which I used to create an API gateway. There's applications, there's, which sets up the SAM application repository. There's layers. I probably will come back and do layers, Lambda layers, which will be something we'll use later. But there's no CloudFormation support in SAM. So we have to go to, there's no CloudFront support in SAM, so we have to go strict to CloudFormation. So what I'm going to do, CloudFormation, CloudFront, S3 bucket. And let's see if there is an answer for this that we can just use directly. You can there's multiple different ways to host files, like static files in like a CDN. So I could go into my S3 bucket and just make these objects public, which means that anyone with the S3 URL could get access to these. I could also use pre-signed URLs. So I could, at runtime, when a request comes into my Alexa skill, I could go get a pre-signed URL for that video, which allows me to have public access to it, but it will expire, and then use that to stream. And then I can also put CloudFront on top of it, which is like a CDN. And so that's my preference, is to use CloudFront. And actually, I should make sure AWS CloudFront for streaming videos. Let me make sure this is actually the best way to do it. Yeah, they still have CloudFront on there. Okay. It's always nice to make sure that you're using the right service. There's like 100 different services to do anything. And so let's take a look at that. So, okay. It's a CloudFront distribution. That's what it's called. I knew that. Okay, so if I go over to the CloudFront console, I could build this completely in the console, which is how I'm used to building CloudFront distributions. Come over here and click Create Distribution, and then it'll go and like set up everything for me. The problem is I want this infrastructure as a code, so I want anyone who could follow along to just run this SAM's like deploy, and it'll like build this entire infrastructure into their account. I don't want to create like this long README file that says, okay, now go into CloudFront, click Create New Distribution, do this, do this, this. I just want it to all deploy at once. That's what CloudFormation gives me. So this looks like exactly kind of what I'm looking for. The nice thing is like there's all kinds of documentation on how to do anything in CloudFormation. So it's creating a distribution. It's creating an origin, which is an S3 bucket, which is exactly what I would want to be doing. So I would come over here and find my S3 bucket and so on. Default root object, logging, aliases. So that's the, if I wanted to have like a full, I just got a phone call. If I wanted to have a full, a real domain attached to this, I could host a domain in Route 53 and use that. I don't really care because it's not going to be public facing, these video URLs, so I'm just going to use the CloudFront URL. It's not necessarily need an alias. Cache behavior, yes, we want to worry about that. And price class, I want to make sure that's the correct price class I want to use. And we can set up geo restrictions, which is really cool. And so let me just start with this actually. That's the JSON version. I want the YAML version. We'll see if this gets us to what we want. Okay, so where should I put this? I should put this underneath my S3 bucket would be a good place. Okay. So here would be a good place for it. Okay, let's call this CDN distribution. So domain name is, so we want to do, let me do this, sub data S3 bucket. So I'm referencing my S3 bucket now, so just populate that in the name. It'll set up that identity, some comment, stream videos, default root object index.html. It doesn't exist, I will add it. Include, so logging, I'm gonna turn off logging for right now. So let me also make sure that, so where would be the full definition of all the resources? Template reference, I think. So let me open up a new tab and go to, here we go. This is a full definition of all the different CloudFormation resources you can do, and we are creating a distribution. What I want to make sure is distribution config. What I want to make sure is things like logging are not required. So I could say, I'm going to turn off logging for right now. I actually don't want to do logging. Aliases is another thing I believe is not required. No. We don't want any CNAMEs for this, so we can delete those. Default cache behavior. It's not required. What would be the default? So I do like pulling up the console so I can do things like come over here. Default cache behavior. I do like just using the defaults for a lot of these. Allowed methods. Yeah, that looks good. Target origin. I feel like that needs to be updated. Query string. Hold on just a second. Okay, so let me look at this definition. So this distribution config. What I want is target origin. This is under default cache behavior. Oops. Target origin ID. The value of the ID of the origin that you want CloudFront to route to. Oh, that's fine. For values, query string false, trusted signers. I don't think I need this. Who's publicly can use validate or sign cookies. I'm going to get rid of this. Viewer protocol policy. Okay, allow all can use, we actually want to redirect to HTTPS. Okay, price class. Let's take a look at that documentation to make sure we get the price class correctly, because I do not want to spend more than I need to on this. Price class. Okay, choosing a price class for CloudFront distribution. CloudFront edge locations on the world. CloudFront edge locations. Ooh. Let me look at the pricing page, because now I'm really curious. Oh, I see. Okay, so we can limit who has access to this based upon region. Is that what this is going? Provide you an option to lower the prices you pay to deliver content out of by default. Minimizes end user latency. Or if you wish to use another price class, you configure distribution. All right, let's just stick with this. It seems to be somewhat restrictive, but we'll just see how this works. I can always bump that up later. Restrictions. We don't have any restrictions. That is not required, so let's get rid of these restrictions. Viewer certificate, CloudFront default certificate true. I believe that's what we want. We want to use the CloudFront certificate for sure. Perfect. Okay. I think this is all we need to specify the CloudFront distribution. The there's a very good chance that this will either fail to deploy or not be set up correctly, not get the right permissions. But one of the things I want to also check is to make sure that we don't need to do anything to the S3 bucket to verify that that will get set up correctly. Okay, so let's just go through this. There's not a whole lot of detail on this. Okay, so CloudFront, Cloud Formation, S3, Origin. Yeah, this looks like what I need. So what I'm getting to is, like, if I choose my S3 bucket here, and then like one of the questions it asks me when I'm going and building this out is how I want to access it. So usually I want to set up OIA, Origin Access Identity. And I don't feel like it did here, but do I need to actually, usually I have to go into my, like, where did this come from? I feel like I need to do something here to actually create this, and then update the bucket policy so that this all connects. I don't feel like this will do it all, just specifying the CloudFront distribution. So I need to actually look at if I can find a better example. Okay, so this is what I think I need to create. I need to create like Origin Access ID. Okay. Yeah. And then, okay, so I create the CloudFront distribution. Origin access, I get that. This looks, see, this looks more like what I was looking for. So here I have a bucket policy that says they can access. Okay, this is what I want. So let's copy. First, let's start with this. Origin access. What'd I do? Did not mean to do that. Okay. So I'm creating an origin access identity. Then I go to my website, I create a policy for my bucket. Oops. I'll call this CDN bucket policy. So I'm going to reference my bucket, which is this guy. And I'm going to say get, this would actually need to be more like this. Origin access. There, now it's getting the attribute from that, which is great. Okay, then I need to update my CloudFront distribution. This looks better. Before it was like hard coding something, which didn't look right at all. And I'm wondering if I can restrict this down to a certain prefix inside of my S3 bucket. Instead of giving it access to like everything that's in the S3 bucket through CloudFront, I'd want to match it to a very particular S3 bucket. So where would that be? Would that be in the origin access identity? Whoa. No, this is just one thing, which is the config. So let me look in the config. It's just a comment. Okay, so that's not what I want. Can I even do this? If I go to CloudFormation, okay, CloudFront OAA restrict prefix OAI. it's Amazon or bucket, but I want a specific prefix. Can I even do that here? There's got to be a way to do that. Oh boy. That's for logging. So what I'm wondering is bucket policy. I feel like I could just put, yeah, let me try that. So where is my, I want to use, oh my goodness, go away. I can't scroll. Why can't I scroll? There we go. I want to restrict it down to this processed folder. This is where the videos are going to live. And the only thing living in this folder is videos. So I think I can do this, oops, and restrict it down. And I think that will be good. Let me look at the other example. Where was that? I just saw that. Here. Let me just compare the rest of these properties. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's a CloudFront distribution. Don't care about aliases. Default git head options. Yeah, we don't need some of these. We don't need delete. Oh my goodness. I think options is necessary. Patch, don't need, actually all three of these. We're only getting from this default TTL. That seems like a nice setting to have. We can play around with that. For values, I don't care about the query string. Yeah, the query string doesn't matter. Cookies none. Redirect HTTPS. Enabled true. Do I actually need to put enabled true? It is already over there. HTTP version. Do I need that? Is that really necessary? Let's look at my definition. HTTP version. What's the default? For users. Yeah, let's specify because I don't know what the default is. Cool. And those are origins. We already did that. Viewer certificates. We're not using that certificate. We're just going to use the CloudFront one, so that's fine. Awesome. Okay, let's try to deploy this and see what happens. Usually, from my experience, creating these can take a while to provision and fully set up. So I wanted to kick this off kind of the beginning, and everything else is deployed. So my CloudFormation change set should only be just these new resources. Excuse me. So let's see how this is doing. So I kicked off a SAM deploy. Well, SAM build first, then SAM deploy. So it used the cache, so it said there's no new resources to go and build. I didn't change any Lambda code. And we got a problem. Website bucket. I left in a bad reference. Where is? Depends on. That's what happens when you copy and paste code. So let me look for website bucket. Okay. Didn't find it anywhere else. Go back up to the top. Click save, and let's kick off a new deploy. Build and deploy. I am going to get to the, we're actually are going to create an Alexa skill today. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I haven't found a slicker way to do what I want to do. So I'm going to do a couple things and we're going to back out and redo some things. I'll show it in a minute. And it's just because like there's no CloudFront support for creating Alexa skill. I do want so when you create a skill, you create a lambda function. I use a lambda function to do all the skill processing. And I want that lambda function to exist with the rest of my lambda functions. I have like 15 other lambda functions. I would like them all to be in one location. So yes, let's deploy that. And so there's a few different ways you can do this with an Alexa skill. You can say, I want to use a free hosted lambda version, which is really cool. You can get started creating a skill for like absolutely nothing and just let Alexa host all of it. Or you can say create a lambda function in my account, and it'll go and like create that. I want neither of that, so I want to specify the lambda, and you specify it by providing it an ARN that it can connect to. But when you create like an Alexa hosted skill, it will deploy a lambda function that has like tons of valuable code already stubbed out. So I want that code, but I don't want the hosted. So I'm going to create an Alexa hosted skill. Look at the lambda, copy the entire lambda contents, and then change it to be a self-hosted skill. And this might take a while. So, okay, let's, it looks like it did the bucket policy. Did it finish the bucket policy? I can go and check. One of the things I was worried about is there's a few things I'm worried about when creating. I don't know the ins and outs of CloudFront and how to do everything there. So I always have to like look up documentation when I'm doing this. So I want to look up the bucket policy, and it looks like the bucket policy hasn't been updated yet. And actually, I have multiple bucket policies. I hope that's going to work. That may be the first place it fails. Okay, so let's keep coming back to this to see how this is going. I feel like the first problem I'm going to run into is I have two separate bucket policies. I just now realizing this. I should have put this into one policy, two different statements. So that's probably going to fail. But let's just, and it did. Yes. Malformed policy. Is invalid resource. Failed to create. Okay, so now it's rolling back those changes. So let me do this. Let me combine these two bucket policies now. And I'll give this one a SID of allow CloudFront. And then I can get rid of this bucket policy altogether. Is this used anywhere else? It is not. Cool. Okay. This is going to roll back. And then we can redeploy again. But meantime, okay, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on this while I talk through creating the Alexa skill. So, now we're going to go into the Alexa Developer Console and start playing around there. So I'm going to come in. I have a bunch of Alexa skills that I've already created, a bunch of test ones, a bunch of garbage ones. So you'll see that in my account. But you can easily create an Alexa developer account. It's free to do, and then you can start developing Alexa skills. And you can use your Alexa skills directly on the devices that you might have in your home if you linked if you use the same email address you did for your Echo registration, Alexa registration as you did your developer account. So I'm going to go into the developer console and I'm going to click create skill. So this is, I'm going to call this developer office hours. English, we're going to do a video skill type. So this is just a pre-built model to get you started doing videos, which is what we really care about. And provision your own is what I'm going to be using. But actually, I wanted to, that's okay. Let's go ahead and do this. So create skill. And default endpoint. So what I need to do now is copy this skill and create a lambda function. And cool. First what I'm going to do though, let me back out of this. What I want to do is I want to copy the lambda code from a hosted skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say custom, and I'm going to say Alexa hosted Python. And this will make sense in a second. So I'm going to start from scratch, continue with template, and it's going to go build me a skill. So what I'm going to do is come over here and we'll create a new folder for skill backend, I'm going to call it. And so you can see here, like these other folders have all the different pieces in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy like one of my other lambda functions and just paste it in here. So I have something to start with already. So skill backend, I'm going to delete all this code and I'm going to delete all my requirements, but I have like a shell of where my lambda function can go. And then what I need to do is I need to come into my CloudFormation and create a new resource that will provision this lambda function. So let me just copy one here. Actually, I want one where I can query my OpenSearch database. Yes, so I'm going to copy this guy. And maybe I'll just make this like the top resource because this is a skill I'm building. I need to really clean up this YAML file. Okay, so this is going to be my Alexa skill backend. My code lives in skill backend. Timeout, that's fine. Let's do this. Okay, so this skill, as it stands now, for this lambda function, it's saying the code is in this folder, has a timeout of 150 seconds. I'll probably tighten that down to 30 seconds. And then I'm passing in as an environment variable my OpenSearch domain endpoint. And then I'm giving this lambda function permissions to query my OpenSearch domain. The other thing we need to add to this is an event trigger, which I will get to in just a second. Okay, so this, roll back. Let me redeploy it. Hopefully I didn't click save. Did I click save on that? I hope I didn't click save on my template. It didn't because it didn't find anything new to build. Okay. Whew. Okay. Working in the template while provisioning all this is probably not a great idea. Okay, so now I created my stub of my Alexa skill. And if I come over to like this build, so I selected just the Alexa hosted function. And the reason why I did that is because I want this code. This code is very, very helpful to get you started. It's the whole, it sets up the skill SDK and allows you to process incoming requests and form responses. And it has like a bunch of these handlers already defined. So I just want to copy that, and let's bring that over to my skill code lambda. So now I have that, but I also need to get the requirements, which are here, which includes just the Bado3, which is the Python SDK that allows you to query into Amazon stuff, and then the Ask SDK. I have other requirements that I will have, which include querying my Elasticsearch. So over here in one of my other functions, I have these requirements defined. So I'm just going to add them over as well. So really all I need to think is OpenSearch PY, but I do need requests and requests auth and so on. So I can make queries to Amazon OpenSearch. Okay, so that gets us to here. So now I have my stub code ready to go. But what I need to do is I need to add an event trigger. And I'm realizing I shouldn't have backed out of that wizard as I was going. I should have opened the new tab. Because what I want to do now is go back to this guy. Okay, perfect. It brought me back to this wizard. So what I need is this skill ID. So let me, I'm just going to add this as a comment. And actually, you know what? I'm going to add this as a parameter to the CloudFormation. So we'll do Alexa skill ID type string default is that description. Okay. So now I can just reference this. But where do I need to reference this? Deploy that change, please. And I realize I've saved the YAML file, so I am causing a world of hurt. So my problem is I wanted to deploy the CloudFormation by itself without mucking it up with a bunch of other stuff. My CloudFront, not CloudFormation. But I've been working in the template, so now I've like added my own changes to it. So it's going to like try and deploy other things next time I run a build and deploy. So like I won't be able to deploy my Lambda function until the CloudFront stuff fully deploys successfully. So I'm going to get into this like weird state where I'm going to be annoyed with myself for the way that I've done this. I should have deployed the Lambda first and then done the CloudFront, which maybe I can go back and like comment out the CloudFront stuff, redeploy this, and get my skill built anyway. Or maybe it'll just work, and that would be fantastic as well. So I need this Alexa skill ID. So this is kind of like this circular dependency you have. So I created my Alexa skill. It gives me a skill ID. I need to point it to an endpoint. So I'm going to give it a lambda ARN. But that lambda ARN has to have permissions so that this skill ID can call it. So you first create the skill here, get the skill ID, go back to your Lambda function, add it in as event trigger, set up all the permissions, and then come back here and add the Lambda ARN here, and then you can actually proceed. So let's do that. So I know Sam has a method to do this. So if I go over, here is my SAM documentation. If I go over to functions and event sources, there's an Alexa skill event source. So first, actually, let me come back up here. This is my Lambda function. It has a ton of different properties on it. One of them is events. So I can say, let's do it here, events, and then it takes in, I believe it takes in an array. Is that right? Actually not, just one particular one. I thought that took an array. Nope, it's just an event source. Okay, so we'll do then event source. So type and properties. So type is going to be Alexa skill. I think I'm doing this right. That's what I thought. Okay, so we'll do that looks better. Okay, so come back to properties. We want Alexa skill, and it's a skill ID. That's weird. Do I need to type again here? I don't. That doesn't seem to make sense. I think I just need skill ID. And then this is going to reference this value. Okay, I may need to just Google this. Give me an example. I think this is, yeah, I think this is what I need. The whole thing is weird. I don't like that they're not giving me like a huge full function example. All right, never mind. How's my deployment going? Oh no, it failed. I have a malformed policy. On the CDN distribution. Policy has invalid resource. I wonder. See, now I'm in trouble. Well, that's one reason. I forgot to put the sub, so it'll actually do that. Okay. Now it's going to deploy my new lambda function, everything else with it, which is what I was trying to avoid, but that's all right. Let's see if this works. And then I actually need the output, which is the skill backend. So yeah, this is an output variable, so I can just get it nice and easily. Access skill ARN value should be this. Let me verify that. Okay, so we'll come back over here to function. What are the return values? The ref returns this. Get at and get the ARN. Perfect. And then while I'm down here, I might as well get the CDN URL as well. So I need to figure out how to get this. Of course, they don't show that here. Do they show that here as an output? Nope. Okay. So CloudFront distribution, return values, domain name. Domain name should do it. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is let's do this. Let's come up here. What did I call a CDN distribution? this is what I want. Okay, so now I have two more output parameters, including the lambda ARN, which I need to give back to the Alexa console, and the CDN URL, which I'll use to grab domains or grab videos. And actually, I'll probably plug that in to my lambda function as well, so it has it. Okay, so let's try deploying the whole thing. So now I have a new lambda function because I hit save on my template, so it's going to go and build that new lambda function, which is my skill backend code, which is just a kind of an empty stub of code. Nothing exciting yet. I'm just looking at my other window. I'm looking at my Twitch inspector as we're going. It is jumpy as heck. It seems that we're doing way better than we did on Wednesday. Wednesday I had like 45 minutes of unstable stream. Now it's not that long. It's lots of instability, but not 45 minutes, not an hour of it. So let's see here. Why is it fetching a new Docker image? I already had that. Oh, I also updated Docker. Does that delete the images? This is the same Python runtime. Maybe there's a new version. So SAM, what it's doing right now, it is using Docker to build my Lambda function. So it will run Docker, it'll put my source code in there, it will build my Lambda function with all of its dependencies, and it uses a Docker image that is consistent with the Lambda environment up in AWS. And so that is what it's doing right now, which is really cool. So now I know that the Lambda function will fully run and have all the correct dependencies. But what it's doing is it's downloading a new Docker image, which I don't know why it's doing that. It must be a new version of the Docker image. I already had this downloaded. So now my precious bandwidth is being taken up even more. Come on. Let's see how my Starlink is doing. It's hanging in there. This is the exciting part. So we're getting closer. We actually logged into the Alexa developer console for the first time after like 6 weeks of coding, which is pretty exciting. I want to get to the next half hour. My ideal would be to get to like where we can run an Alexa command to actually query the database. That would be really cool, and I think we're close to that. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Now it's uploading this new Lambda function, taking up even more of my precious upload bandwidth. Yeah, my stream is dying right now. Okay, use up all the. It's not even progress. There we go. Come on, Starlink. Come on, go. My dog looked at me. She thought I was talking to her. You're okay. Good girl. All right, now it's okay. Cool. Waiting for the change set to be created. We're getting somewhere. It's now talking with my AWS environment. the infrastructure it's already deployed in CloudFormation is checking to see if what changes are being done, which is really cool that CloudFormation can do that. It can say, here's the new template, here's the old version that's already deployed, what's different, and like apply only those changes. So it won't touch resources. Resources that have been updated don't get updated, and only resources that get added, deleted, or modified get kind of mucked with. Okay. My confidence that this is going to deploy correctly is not very high. But at least I fixed this issue. It's creating the roles, creating the Lambda functions. If this doesn't work, I'm probably going to comment out all the CloudFront stuff so I can at least get the Lambda function out there. I don't need the CloudFront distribution yet. We're not at the point where we're going to be able to even add videos to a skill because we don't have skills yet. But I thought it would be a great thing to do just to get that started. And if this fails, it's going to roll back everything. The policy was updated. That's great. Lambda permissions, that's great. So it created the, okay, so we must have set up the, for quick, we can catch this while it's going. Because if it rolls back, it'll delete everything. But what I wanted to see was, I created this Lambda function and created the skill. Everything looks great here, so that was set up perfectly. And again, if CloudFormation fails to deploy, which it could, it'll roll back and delete this Lambda function because that wasn't there, and it'll assume that it's all part of the bad deployment. So it looks like this might go through. So in CloudFront, we could probably see a new distribution being created. Yes, it is. It's deploying. That's kind of cool. Come on, I hope this works. I don't know. So what I don't know is how long this takes to deploy. If it's going to just deploy the CloudFormation and say, hey, we're good. But what I can do, let me grab this ARN for this Lambda function. So what I was wanting to do is grab this from the output of CloudFormation. But I can grab the ARN here and go back to my developer console and plug that in here. Because this would fail if I didn't have the permissions set up correctly. So if this event trigger wasn't set up correctly, then I would not be able to proceed here. And then you can specify Lambda functions in different regions to deploy, so your code, to reduce latency of your skill, so it would reach out to a local one. I don't want to mess with that just yet. Create completed. This might have worked. Whether the permissions are set up correctly, I don't know, but this looks like it's creating. Nice. Okay, so this is what I was meaning. So here is my CloudFront ARN. Actually, let me see if it's actually fully deployed. It is. So if I put in this should be access denied. But if I go to objects, I go to processed, and let's just grab this. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. We have a CDN functioning. This is great. This is great. This is great. Okay, so before I forget, what I want to do is come down here and add this to my Lambda function for my Alexa skill as a environment variable. And I'll just go ahead and add process to the end of that. So now I know exactly, in my Lambda function, I will know exactly where to go to get to my CDN. So cool. Okay. So let's finish creating the skill. So country-specific configuration, I'm going to leave all this as optional for right now. I don't need to mess with it. I will come back and mess with this. Skill invocation name, I'm going to call this developer office hours. This is the name of the Alexa skill, so I can say Alexa open developer office hours, or I can say ask developer office hours and give it a query name, stuff like that. Fire TV support, I'm going to leave blank. That would be cool to add Fire TV support, and we probably should, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I want to get to is, oh no, make sure that Alexa Smart Home is selected in the event source type. Oh, I did not know that. Do I really need to do that? I was hoping I could bypass that. Okay, so let's go to my SAM event source. I'm not seeing smart home. Is that... I think what it's talking about is adding a trigger for Alexa Smart Home. But why? Just because I made this a video? I didn't enable... I'm going to do that, but it doesn't look like SAM supports that. Has Alexa skill. SAM AWS Alexa Smart Home. So there's a quest out for it. Oh. Closed. Maybe it just didn't make it to the documentation. This is like a while ago. There's a function, there's a role, there's a skill kit ID. Oh, I've never seen that. That's kind of cool. Let's see if I can do this. I'm not quite sure why we need the smart home permission. So skill smart. But it has to be like a trigger. Let's try it. Okay, it depends on... and then event source, we'll do ref Alexa skill ID. It should be a pretty quick deploy because I didn't really change a whole lot. I'm gonna look at something really quick. I'm just using a different screen for just a second. You know, I think what I want to do, let's not. I think what I want to do is just create a custom. Yeah, let me, I think this is going down the wrong path, and I should know better. So let me get rid of that. And what I want to do is actually delete this guy. But I may not, how do I delete it when it's not fully built? I don't think I want to do a, so let me delete this because that's just my stub that I used. And then I'm going to recreate this developer office hours one, which means I need to update my skill ID. No big deal. Okay, so let's do this again. Developer office hours. So instead of choosing a video, because I don't want to go down the smart home path, I just want to do a custom one. I'm going to say provision my own. Create skill. Start from scratch. So a bunch of different templates you can choose. I'm just going to choose this one. So I'm not creating a video skill. I'm going to go back and just create a fully custom one, which I think is what I want to do because I don't want to use the built-in video controls. I'm going to end up creating APL controls to be able to view the videos and zoom and all this. So this might be just like a kind of an easier path anyway. So what do I need to do? I need to come in and update my endpoints. I have a new skill ID. So let's paste that in here. Let me just totally get rid of this. And let me deploy this now. So this will update the trigger to point to the new skill. And while that's happening, what I want to do is come in, change the invocation name to developer office hours. This is the name of the skill. You say build that. And we'll dive into intents and a bunch of other things later, but for right now, let's just do a search, create a custom intent, search. So now I'm putting in a sample utterance. This is what a user would say to the device. So they would say, at this point, they would say, Alexa, open developer office hours. It would open up my skill, and now I'm running it. So then I would say search. And then what I'm going to do is just put in a query string. So this slot type. So slots are what you can fill. So here, I'm putting in a slot. So I could, another thing I could do is I could say search program, or what do I call it, for query. Right, so these are different things that users can say, and slots are kind of like variables that can get filled out. So here, I could say search office hours for blah, blah, blah. Or I could say search blah, blah, blah. Because I have different types now. I have office hours, I have Tech Talks, I have Alexa and Friends. So I do want to specify like that. So that program would be like different slot values that I could fill in to say like custom slot values is what we'd say for like a program would be Alexa and Friends or office hours or things like that. I'm going to delete that for right now. I just want to get to the basic, really, really basic, which is search blah. And so whatever I say after the word search is going to pass to me in a variable. So let's save this model. Deploy change set yes. I think my lambda ARN won't change, but I can't add that as my endpoint here until that gets deployed. So it's using just like a default lambda endpoint. I have about 10 minutes left, so I'm trying to get through a bunch of stuff like really quickly. Come on. Okay, cool. So now I can take this ARN and give it to here, and hopefully it'll check the permissions. Everything is not fine. Save failed. The trigger setting for blah, blah, blah is invalid. Skill manifest error. Okay, so let me go in. Let me refresh my Lambda. Oops. Okay, come on. Why are all you selected? Here's my Lambda code. This trigger, does it have the right skill ID? That's the first thing I'm kind of worried about. It does not. It didn't update this. That is weird. Did I paste the right skill ID into my variable? Yes, this is the right skill ID. Okay, so let me just update it manually. CloudFormation did not pick up that this particular one changed. So let me delete this. I shouldn't have to do this, but it's because I messed around with my skill IDs. Okay, so let's do this. Now that trigger's been set up. So now I should be able to come back here and say save endpoints. Saved successfully. Fantastic. Okay. Now, there's a couple things I want to do. Okay, so now I have my skill set up. I've created a query intent or a search intent. Actually, I'm going to call this search intent. Save model. Let's build this. Now let's go over to my Lambda code here and start playing with this. So now this is set up to be able to run my Lambda code. So this is what the skill, when it's executing, it's going to call this Lambda function with the different requests. And so it's using the Ask SDK for the Alexa Skill Kit SDK for Python to be able to route the different requests. So you create different handlers using the SDK to handle the different types of requests. So this is like a launch request. So I can say, welcome to the developer office hours video library search. I don't know. We'll come up with something better. This is a hello world example. I'm going to actually update this one to be, we won't do hello world. We're going to do search intent. And so here, instead of intent name, I'm going to say search intent. Maybe we'll do the casing like they had hello world. So we'll rename that. Save model. I'll come back over to my other intents over here. Let's delete the hello world intent. So these are different intents, so different kind of different things, actions that your skill can do. By default, you have to support a few of these, such as like cancel or help or stop. So those are there by default. This is a custom one that I just added, search intent. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a handler that will handle that specific intent. So if the intent is coming through is search intent, then call this handle method down here. But since I renamed the hello world handler for search intent, what I do is come down here to where I'm registering all these handlers and update that as well. And then the other thing that I like to do is I like to explicitly log the incoming requests in response to this Lambda function. So what I like to do is actually add a different entry point to this. So explicitly define the lambda handler differently. So there are, in JavaScript, I do this differently. In JavaScript, I would add a request and response interceptor. But I don't like those in the Python library because they're not fully JSON serializable. So weird things happen. And then the other thing I want to do is, so I like to log the request and response to my own lambda handler definition. So I'm going to actually get rid of this line of code and redefine it here. And then I'm also, while I'm in here, I might as well add my default logic that I use for setting up the logger. I just like to be consistent. So I'm getting so I need to, ooh, what'd I do? Don't do that. Cancel, what'd I do? Yes, okay. So I need to import OS. Okay, you can go away. So now OS is brought in. So in this lambda definition, I'm passing in an environment variable for the log level. So there it is. So now I have my logger set up, and then I probably need to get rid of this stuff that they have. Logger, we'll do logging. It's just my preference of doing logging. Okay, so now here I can do logging dot info JSON dumps event. So I get the incoming event. I don't have JSON imported either. Okay, so now I have, I'm logging the incoming event. I actually had that already, didn't I? As a debug, but I actually wanted it as a info. And then now we'll call the SDK. So we'll do response equals SB, which is the name of the skill builder. What is it? It's lambda handler, and then it's kind of a weird syntax, but it's supposed to be called like this. So calling this actually returns the function that is the entry point. So I'm just kind of doing it manually. And then logging.info JSON dumps response, and then finally return response. Okay. So now I'm at least going to be getting called. Okay, and then let's go back up here into my search intent. I'll just do. I will need to update those. So this is going to be my search intent. So what I want to do is, I actually don't need to log that because I have the whole request being logged. Okay. Let's build this, deploy it. What we're not going to get to today is actually running a query against OpenSearch, but we can get to that first thing Monday because everything else is up and running. And if this builds, and actually if I build this, I think it built already, but let me just click rebuild again. So it's rebuilding my model in the Alexa developer console. It's redeploying my Lambda function over here up to the cloud, so the two will be connected. And then I should be able to, from my device, open this, and it won't be very exciting, but we can at least open it. So this is now gone. Let me delete that and that. Let's go back over to skill invocation name. So I'm just waiting on that to deploy. It's uploading my new function code. Why is that such a large function? It shouldn't be that large. I should also have higher bandwidth, but that's all right. I need to remove some of the libraries. What I can actually do is move a lot of the libraries into a Lambda layer that I don't need to update, such as the OpenSearch Python library. I'm not going to modify that. I'm going to put that into a Lambda layer. I'm going to make note to do that in my next on Monday as well. That'll make these deployments a lot smaller. I'm going to take note of that right now, actually. Lambda layer with, let's search Python library. And what I mean by that, so Lambda layers are actually really cool. They're code that you can include in every single function so that you don't actually have to specify like basic requirements. And actually, this is very interesting. I can't even edit this in the console because it's too large. And I'm wondering what is making this package. It's 8 megabytes in size. What is making it 8 megabytes in size? I wonder if one of my other functions that creates the index, how big this one is. So this one's really tiny. So I wonder what dependency is. It's probably I know exactly what it is. It's probably, hold on. Yes, go ahead and deploy that. But at the same time, you don't need to specify the Bado3 SDK. I do need to specify the ask SDK. I wonder if that's what's making it such a big deployment. The Bado3 is AWS's Python SDK, and it's huge. It's already in the Lambda environment, so I don't need to package up as a requirement. I should have caught that and deleted it earlier, but I did not. So it's kind of like a dependency. It's kind of given. I'm going a little long today. Cool. That got deployed. Let me redeploy this just to see how big that file is now that I remove that dependency. But so I can do this. So I renamed my Echo device here to a different word besides the word Alexa because I use that word quite a bit. So computer, open developer office hours.
Welcome to the Alexa Developer Office Hours search tool.
Cool. Search for whatever I want to talk about.
Sorry, I don't know about that. Please try again. Sorry, I don't know about that.
Alexa, or computer, stop.
Goodbye.
Well, that didn't work. Let me try it again. Computer, open developer office hours.
Sorry, I don't know about that.
Computer, exit. See, I don't think it even brought up the right one because that seems to be the previous office. Let's not call this developer office hours. Let's call this office developer video archive. That's what we want to do. Let's call it developer video archive. So it's going to have to rebuild this. Okay, so now this file, look at that. This is so much smaller. That's what we want. We want something that size. So the Bado3 SDK was bloating up this Lambda function, causing everything to slow down. But what I was getting at, I hope you're following me because I'm doing like 3 different things at one time. I'm barely following myself. So what I was getting at was that you can add layers to push some of these dependencies, like all these dependencies here, we could push those into a Lambda layer so that this Lambda code wouldn't include those, but it could reference those. And then we could put in other helper functions into that. So like one of the things I'm envisioning is I don't want my skill code calling directly to OpenSearch. I want to create like a library that I can call from my skill that would go do that. That library could live into the Lambda layer, so it could be reusable across a bunch of different functions. Okay, let's try this. Computer, open developer video archive.
I found a few skills that might help. Do you mean developer quotes?
No.
I also found developer facts. Do you want that one?
Let me try it over here. You know what? I didn't turn on.
Okay, here's your
Alexa, or
problem.
computer stop. Computer stop. I forgot to turn
It's been
on.
fun.
I forgot to turn on skill testing. Okay. Let's try this again. Computer, open developer video archive.
Welcome to the Developer Office Hours Video Library Search.
Search for things that I might want to talk about.
Hello World.
Okay, so what just happened there, and then I'm going to end the stream. So I had an intent. So I computer stop. So I said the word search and then a query string, and that picked up this intent. This intent then called my lambda function. And if we go to my lambda function and it said hello world because I overwrote the hello world handler. So it went down into this search intent code and said hello world. And if I look at the logs in CloudWatch, we should be able to see the whole request come in. And we should be able to say what I said after the word search. So here is, that's the request response for opening it. This is the request and response for when I said the word search. So here is the request that was sent from the Alexa service. I said it hit the search intent, and this was the value for the query. Remember, I said search, and then I created a slot for the query. Well, it captured everything. So for things that I might want to talk about is exactly what I said. It caught it. So from my Lambda code, I can pull this value in. It did the audio to text for me. And so now I could run this over to OpenSearch, which is exactly what I'm going to do next time. And we will start from there, and we'll probably do a little bit of cleanup. But we got a ton of stuff done. I'm very excited. We have a skill going. I will commit all this stuff in. The other thing I need to do is also pull down my skill configuration into VS Code so I can start modifying the code there instead of just in the console, and then I can put it through version control. So I'll walk through all that on Monday, and we'll just keep going at it. But hopefully this is fun and enjoying for somebody. Maybe someone will get inspired. Maybe someone will build something way cooler than what I'm building based upon what I'm working on. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I appreciate it. Bye.